Hello and welcome to Building the Premier Accounting Firm. I'm your host, Roger Knecht, president of Universal Accounting Center, and for more than 20 years I've been working with accounting professionals to help you start and build your own successful accounting, bookkeeping, and tax business. As your host, one of the things that I try to do is each and every week bring excellent guests for us to discuss various topics that apply to your business to help you actually have the premier accounting firm in your area. The topics may range each week from marketing and sales to pricing to perhaps onboarding clients, working with the clients and retaining them, offering quality accounting services, training your staff, and so much more. My guest today is Iilens Dort. Illens happens to be with Maximum Impact Council. He's the president and founder and also the author of this amazing book, The 5 Secrets of Failing in Business, which we're going to be talking a little bit about today. Now, as your host, one of the things that I want to do is just encourage you to sit back, relax, but as well, take some good notes on the conversation because Iilens, you've got some amazing tips for us today. But before we begin, tell us a little bit about yourself.
That's wonderful. Thank you, Roger. I'm so excited to be here, to be part of this wonderful podcast and show. And so a little bit about myself. I was born and raised in Haiti.
Yep.
I've been in Utah for 35 years.
Yes.
Can you believe that? And married with children. And
Beautiful
6
family.
children, and thank you so kindly, and 13 grandchildren.
Yes.
Background also is that I graduated from Brigham Young University in electronics engineering, and I worked in that space for many years for a lot of major companies here in Utah, including Novell, Omniture, Adobe, and also I have a degree in an MBA as well. And right now, I love to write, and I love to help business people grow themselves and their businesses.
You know, I love that. I've known you for years now, and I know you've put on events for business owners. You've written this book. You've participated in a number of things as a speaker. I think you're an amazing person. You're very, very helpful to businesses, and I'm excited to have our conversation today and cover a variety of topics. So let me begin with this question. What is a common myth about what it is you do that you think people just misunderstand? What's something about your experience and expertise that we should know that we don't?
As a business owner, sometimes we allow ourselves to think that because we are good at doing something, that means we are good at doing a lot of things.
Okay.
That's a myth, right?
Yes. Yeah. Now, because that is a myth, where just because I'm good at one thing, everyone assumes I'm great at everything else, what advice would you have for business owners as they're working on their business?
So a couple of things, right, from the beginning, is to understand there are 2 major resources that we need in life.
Okay.
The first resource, I call it natural resource. And the second one is quite important, is we call it human resource, but sometimes we don't give it the value that we need. Is the fact that we need other people to grow personally and to grow our business.
So let's talk about those 2. The first one, why is it so important then?
Because everything we create, we use the natural resources. Even the chair that we sit on right now, this wonderful light, we use natural resources. But the part of it that we did not create those things. They were given to us, and they are all over the world. I call them primary and universal resource. And the other one is that human. The moment that we see the value of something, then we can create whatever we need. But we have to include people. Let me share this with you. It's part of the book also. It's a simple definition of business. Businesses are created by people, for people, and are people.
Okay, that's very simple.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I understood from that is sometimes we see in other people, whether it be our employees or maybe even in our customers, greater potential than they perhaps realize. Oftentimes, they don't see what's possible with maybe the product or service we're offering, or more importantly, just with the interactions that we could have with them. So when you talk about the second element being human resources, what's one of the things that we could do to enhance that human resource that we work with?
And I love the statement that you made, that we see the potential. That's a sign of great leader. And then I know you very well, and you're a wonderful leader. You can see people where they are today and where they can be, and also you have the ability to get them there. So the key point is to value people and to do things that can add value to people and then create that environment, what I called an empowered and also engage environment where everybody that we touch, whether it's employees, customers, we create that environment so they can grow.
You know, as you're sharing that, one of the things I'm reflecting on is there is a training we offer, and it's done in businesses. It's called our STAR training, and it's meant to create a culture of accountability. And one of the key elements in that is setting standards. But in order for an individual to excel, there's three key elements: tools, training, and temperament. Tools, we've got to make sure that these individuals, especially those that we're working with, have the tools, the resources to be successful. So often there are such technologies and tools out there that if we just utilize them, we could be so much more productive. The next is the training. That's wonderful that you've got the tool, but if you don't know how to properly use it, even to our smartphones are very, very capable, but I would imagine all of us use but a fraction of the potential. And then the third, the temperament, it's having the right attitude. And sometimes people look to us, and if we're happy, if we're excited, they can glean from us the energy they need to be successful. We're like the Energizer Bunny. We energize those around us. If we're depressed and frustrated and have anxiety, they're going to see that same thing from us in themselves because they're anxious. They don't know why they're anxious. They just know we're anxious, and therefore they're going to be anxious in the office. So that makes a lot of sense as you're sharing human resources to me.
Yes. And I love the statement that you made as you brought together these 3 points. In the book, I mentioned that the right tools in the hands of someone who is inspired and well-trained will do miracles, right? Will do miracles. And also when they have the right tools and they are properly trained, that's going to energize them as well. That will also impact the attitude. So that's another myth also we see in businesses, whether it's small or mid-size or large. Sometimes they will have the employees and they say, you know what, you've heard this before, let's fly at the seat of our pants. I say, make sure that it's buckled very well. So meaning, give them the proper training. If we know how to do something, we should not put someone in the position to guess.
What we need to do is ensure that they're set up to succeed, not set up to fail. That's one of the things that I think sometimes we struggle with is we don't give the person the tools, the resources, the training to be successful. And sometimes we set them up to fail. We need to make sure that we're doing everything we can to help them be comfortable and excited about what they're doing to be successful.
And then, you know, employees or customers, that's their goal. We have to understand that's the goal. People want to succeed. As leaders, as you mentioned so clearly, it's our responsibility.
Yes.
To create the environment for them to succeed.
Exactly.
And believe they can and lead them to success.
What's one lesson in your job as you've run the company that you've experienced a failure, a struggle, and the lesson it taught you?
So the lesson is that, as you mentioned, the key word failure is the fact that we understand that failure is part of life. It's going to happen, but we need to take time to learn from it. Not to run away from it, is to learn from it, review it, and also keep going. Because another statement I made in a previous book is that failure and success are twins, right? Sometimes we don't quite understand when we're in the middle. Sometimes we may be doing so well, thinking that we are succeeding, but we are not paying attention to some key things that we end up failing, right? And sometimes we may think we are failing, but we are learning and prepare ourselves for bigger challenges.
Thank you for sharing that. As you were sharing that, I was remembering a statement I read today where it said every miracle was preceded by a trial or a challenge.
Yes.
And you know, I think that's so true. The miracle is almost irrelevant if there were no challenge or struggle before it. It's when you're in the depths of despair that you see and witness that miracle take place. And that's where you're able to realize that you're not alone and that there's something going on, whether it be friends and support groups, just something comes in and fills a void and makes something possible that you thought was impossible. Failure, as you were describing, it's that twin brother of success, is oftentimes, if we see it as it is, this is an experience that other people are also going to go through. What have I learned from it that I can then impart and help someone else in the future as they also experience this? Because we're all going through life and experiencing things together. We're going to experience challenges. So as we have those challenges, what can we glean from them to help others as they go through them next?
That's the wisdom right there. What can we do to learn from it and also to continue to grow and help other people to avoid these failures?
You know, as I've worked with you over the years, one of the things that I've always appreciated is your optimistic, hopeful demeanor, even when things are challenging. And I've seen you in some stressful situations. You're someone who still is able to keep that bright, optimistic outlook, and just things will pass, things will get better. That phrase of "this too shall pass" is, I think, very much a part of who you are, as I've seen you deal with some trials, and I appreciate that, because as an observer, that's actually very encouraging and inspiring to see, okay, here's this individual who's dealing with a challenge. They're obviously thinking this is going to turn out okay, so I'm going to take a breath and relax here for a moment.
And also that came from the fact that I've experienced a lot of things, a lot of failures, and realized that, oh, that was not the end of the world, right? So you keep that perspective in mind, and also as a leader, you need to make sure so you control that, as you mentioned, your reaction or influence will have an effect on other people around you.
Perfect. You know, I'm going to go to your book now, because I think this is quite interesting. You say 5 specific things. So I'm just going to introduce what the 5 are. I'd like you to pick one and share with us some insights of these 5, all right? So as I go through the 5 here.
If you want, I can mention them.
No, I want to read them. I just had them right here. So here we go. The 5 are the fear of people, the fear of marketing, the fear of selling, the fear of money, and the fear of the unknown. So of the 5, pick one and share with us a little bit about why those fears can impact us in our business.
For the time that we have right now, I'll pick the last one.
Okay.
The fear of the unknown. And specifically in the time that we are right now with the pandemic, what's happening in the world and the war, all these things. And too often we spend a lot of energy on the unknown. But with my background in engineering and science and growing up in Haiti, I love really to spend a lot of time in math. One thing I've learned that when we are dealing with unknowns, it's really a small portion of it that's unknown. I might say 80% of the things that we think that might be unknown are already known. So what I've learned over the years is that it's good to understand there is an unknown part of it, but it's more important to look at what we know already. What are the resources that we have that we can use? What group of people that we can leverage to help us? And then when we spend our energy, we'll find out we are about 80% to the solution. Then we have more resources and more knowledge to focus on the unknown. Another thing I love to tell people, that every problem has a solution. Because if you see it this way, if it doesn't have a solution, it is not a problem. Because the purpose of a problem is to find a solution.
Okay.
So when you approach a problem with that mindset, that there is a solution, so therefore you're going to focus more on the solution. You need to understand the problem. There's no question about that. But too often, we spend too much time on the problem, we multiply the problems, and we even ignore the possible solution because we focus too much on the problems. We need to focus on the solution and simple. What are the resources available to us? People. A problem for me may not be a problem for you.
That's true.
So when I say, okay, I don't know how to do this, Roger, my friend, what do you know?
And be willing to accept that advice, those suggestions, be vulnerable enough to take someone else's insights.
Yeah, that's why we value other people.
Very good.
Another thing also I love is the fact that we need to understand and be comfortable that you have your gifts and I have my gifts, but they are giving to us to complement each other.
Thank you.
So therefore, I am so grateful for the gifts that you are. You're so kind. You're so driven. You just love what you do. That's a wonderful gift. I am grateful for it. I need it. With that approach, we can solve a lot of problems.
I would agree.
Yeah.
You know, there's that old phrase, especially for business owners, that it's lonely at the top.
Yes.
And what you're sharing here is it doesn't have to be.
It doesn't have to be.
You can have a mastermind group, you can have friends, you can have peers that you can lean on who perhaps have gone through the same challenges that you're experiencing now before and have already figured out the solutions because they've now done and dealt with it. And what you said earlier I thought was a very poignant point. Problems by definitions have solutions. And so if we begin understanding that because it's a problem, by definition there is a solution, great, let me find it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You see the energy?
Oh,
right?
Yes.
Once we move our mind thinking on the solution, the energy is even bigger and higher.
Yeah. You know, I was dealing with a group, it was a mastermind group, and in the group we had around the table business owners, very, very successful in each of their own rights. And there were numerous instances where people would become vulnerable and they would volunteer a human resource issue or a legal issue or a production issue. Maybe it was something they were dealing with, in one instance, with one of their vendors that was over in China. And it was amazing. In the room, these people had the experience to say, oh, in my last company, when we had that experience, this is what we did. With my lawyer, when we were dealing with this is how we addressed it and resolved it. And it was fascinating. As somebody became a little bit more vulnerable and shared a challenge that they were experiencing, oftentimes around the table, someone had already gone through a similar enough thing that they had advice to give and suggestions. And nearly every time they left that discussion with a better perspective on how they could deal with or address their situation. So I thoroughly love what you're sharing here. Now, because of these 5 things, what do you feel is the one that people, business owners, struggle with the most? Is it the people, the marketing, the sales, the unknown?
It's the first one.
It's the first one.
People.
People.
It's people also in the area of they face sometimes we worry that we are not good enough. Is because that we really don't focus on the gifts that we are given and what we need to do to really magnify, to amplify that gifts. And the part also, instead of worrying that I am not you, is appreciate the fact that you are who you are. It's a gift to me. So I don't have to worry in comparing myself, right? And the other one is the fact that sometimes we stay inside and then we just, oh, you know what? People may discover my weaknesses. You know the wisdom? If you're working with people and you have weaknesses, let me share this with you. They already discover it. They are waiting for you to admit it and be vulnerable, but they already discover. You know, you and I, we are family. We can ask our wives, our children about our weaknesses. They will tell us.
Oh, my children are happy to point them out.
Yeah.
My wife more so.
Yeah.
Yes, they're more than happy. In fact, I don't even have to solicit it. They'll point out my failings on a regular basis. So, yes.
But they love us. Mm-hmm. They continue to add value to us. Same thing for the people we're working with is that. And their part also is to value people. So that's what I love about that definition, even though it's my definition, but I keep it simple. When life and business is about people, what is the purpose of a business if it doesn't solve a problem for someone?
For someone else,
yeah.
Yes. Very well said. I mean, it's the simplest, most easy way to explain what business is, right?
Yeah.
Very good.
Cannot remove that people from that equation.
Very good. And so many of us in small business are dealing with exactly that.
Yes.
People.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah.
I like it a lot.
And whether you are, one member of your team, you are a member. You got to take care of yourself.
Yes.
Because if you cannot take care of yourself, if you don't value yourself, if you don't invest in yourself, it's hard to do that for people around you.
Thank you. I like invest in yourself, by the way. I think too often we think we've got everything we need today for tomorrow's problems and challenges. And too often I think what we realize too late is really it's just a matter of investing in ourselves, learning something new that helps us address a future problem, a challenge that we're facing. Yeah. Okay. Let's talk about this. What in your line of work, in your business, is something that you're curious about right now and looking forward to learn or better understand?
So it's this part, a couple of parts. One is what we just mentioned, is the fact to continue to encourage people, to educate that we need to continue to invest ourselves. It's a principle I learned from my mother, and I need to do better. The lady was 92, and she was thinking about what she can do to improve her own environment.
Amazing.
Yeah, she was about to die, but she did not stop of improving herself, improving the environment where she was living.
Caring.
So that's, caring. That's the key thing that we need. We need to care about people. And right now we are moving in this era. It's been this way for a long time. We are just, the new generation is getting us back to it. Is really, business has feelings. Do you know why? Because business
is people.
Is people.
Very good.
Yeah.
All right. So, Illens, give me something that people misunderstand about you. What's a commonly misunderstood thing about you?
So that part is the fact that you know me very well, very calm and type of person, but extremely driven.
Yeah.
And also, I know how to balance drive, passion, and compassion. And whether I am in the lane, and I don't separate them because I do both together, of the compassionate spirit, yet at the same time also strong with the goal and the vision. So I've learned how to really manage these two very well. I call them the complete zone.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't know about that about you, so that's good to know. That's interesting.
Thank you.
Share with me a childhood memory, a favorite memory of yours.
There are a couple of them, but I'll share this one because of the lesson I learned from it. With time, we may share two. Would that be okay? One of them is that when I was a child, because we were living in a very small village, and my father was a farmer. I mean, the guy, strong farmer, and we're talking about farming in Haiti. The tools were this, right?
Yes, that's right. We're talking physical.
Physical, right.
Yes.
And then, but very well respected in the area. So my goal was that I wanted to be a farmer like him. Why not?
That's right.
The guy is a strong farmer. He used the land to take care of the family, but I had a limited vision, and I didn't know that I had a limited vision. Because usually our vision can be limited to what we can see, what we can experience.
What you're familiar with.
What you are familiar with, so true. But I remember when it was my time to go to the city for formal education, which was the custom there in a village, no school. And then I didn't want to go. I cried. But I remember that wisdom from my dad. Son, you need a formal education. You need to go to the city to receive a formal education so you can become whatever you want in life. That didn't do it for me because I already knew what I wanted to be in life.
A farmer.
A farmer, and I had
like
the best teacher.
That's right.
Yeah. But but he was a great leader. He could have forced me, but he didn't. He used reasoning and wisdom. He said, son, I understand. If you want to be a farmer, go get this education, and you can be an educated farmer and come back and help us. That did it. That melted me, and then I say yes. And then because I say, okay, now I'm going to be a better farmer, educated, come back to help other people. It seems I already had this as part of my DNA. What can I do to help other people? I was a child when that happened. And then over the years, I realized that I was influenced by some wonderful teachers in life, and I wanted to be a teacher, and things move. And then, but I want you to know, every summer during break time, I will go back and I will work with my father on the farm. I can still go back right now after 40 years, and I can still farm. So that was the lesson. The lesson is is that always follow a leader with a clear vision. They were all around us. And I was fortunate to have my dad who had that clear vision of what I can be, it was my responsibility as a child to follow that. And down the road, you have to develop your own, because the vision of someone else will get you going but may not keep you going. So you have to get your own. The third dimension of that is also on that journey is help other people with their vision as well. So I call it a 3-dimension of a transformational vision. Follow someone with a clear vision, develop your own vision, and help others with their vision.
Very good. You know, as you were sharing that, thinking of a young man who's being sent off to a boarding school. It's not just going to school each day coming home. It's going to a boarding school, living somewhere else. There's a lot of leaving your comfort zone, what you're familiar with, going into the unknown, being vulnerable, that then allowed you to leave the family village and farm and go into the city and go to the boarding school. But then you left Haiti. I mean, you didn't even settle there. You continued to grow, and in time you went to another country. You've done a lot. So it's a lot of going outside of your comfort zone and being willing to take those risks.
You summarize it very well, but because my dad really encouraged me to do that, now you see, oh, okay, I can leave that step. I can leave that comfort zone. And then the next zone is going to be uncomfortable until it becomes comfortable, right?
That's right.
And then you keep progressing. You summarize it so well, yes.
Yeah. Now I'm going to go into something here that I'm excited to hear what you have to say. So in business, it's not uncommon to have a business identify a charity, an organization, something to do philanthropically, something that they can do to give back to the community. On certain websites, ours included, you'll have a site or a page that speaks of our impact and what we're doing to give back. Well, you coincidentally have a organization that you've created in an effort to help people in various parts of the world, Costa Rica, the Dominican Republic, and in the effort to help and give back, you've done some amazing things. And fortunately, I've had the opportunity to participate and travel with you and go with some other friends to really make a difference in people's lives. I've had the opportunity to go with you to one of the programs that you were facilitating in the Dominican Republic to help with a community center that's been established to help Haitian people. I don't know if I'd necessarily say refugees, but Haitian individuals. Tell us about that.
So that's, and thank you for asking that question. By the way, we appreciate your support there, and not only us here in the U.S., but also in that community, and the wonderful. If it wasn't for you, it would have been a very, very difficult thing. Not only you went yourself, you brought members of your team as well, and members of your family. That was a huge support for us to accomplish that goal. But the key is that we need to remember we are all receivers in life. There is no one person that is self-made, right?
Yes.
So, you know, the fact that we are living in this wonderful country, sometimes we forget that a lot of people sacrifice many things, even their own lives, to make this country for us. So it is our responsibility as human beings and as business leaders, business owners, to think about our community and also extend this community to the rest of the world. We are in it together. When we help the community will help us as well. So that's the spirit that we are all receivers.
Oh, thank you. I have a philosophy in life. We have to be willing to give, but we also have to be willing to receive. If we reject the generosity of others, we're denying them their opportunity to give. And so there's two opportunities there. And sometimes out of pride, we don't accept the help that other people offer us. And that pride causes us to suffer. And so we have to be willing to accept the generosity of others, as so many are willing to give, because honestly, there's many people that have been very blessed and they want to give back. The second thing I'd say is you don't have to go to some foreign country to give. There's needs all around us. But going to the Dominican Republic, you mentioned I brought family and I brought friends. I brought work colleagues to help with that activity. And each time I've gone, it's always been a memorable experience. Having lived myself in a third world country and having gone to, in this case, to the Dominican Republic and seen people that aren't exactly as fortunate as others, it's very humbling. And one of the things that I take away from it personally, having been around it as much as I have, is you can see people genuinely happy with very, very little.
Yes.
It does not take much to be happy in this world, and too often in life we assume that it's things that make us happy. And yet when you go find someone that has very, very little, and they can laugh, and they can smile, and they can be just content with life, it helps you remember that, you know, maybe I have my priorities wrong, and I need to realign them. So what would you share to that?
To that, I would say, really, it's a spirit of gratitude.
Mm-hmm.
Once we develop that attitude of gratitude, we can be happy anywhere in any circumstances. Then we make it easier for people around us to be happy. On the subject of serving, I grew up in Haiti, so I saw a lot of needs, right? Mm-hmm. And then I was fortunate that my parents, they were farmers, so we always had food. We always had the shelter thing like this. But I remember one time I was teaching, and as a part-time teacher while I was at the university in Haiti. And then I was in a class, and then I know all the students, and then they were different ages, thing like this. But even during that time, I had that gift to survey the people around me, the environment. Mm-hmm. There was a young student. He was vibrant and happy and things like this. I remember one time I was teaching the class. He was so quiet. And I noticed that. Mm-hmm. And at the end of the class, I went to him. I say, I'll call him Johnny. Johnny, I realized that, man, there was no movement, there was no energy.
No spark.
No spark right now. Share with me. And I will never forget that moment. He said, Master, meaning teacher, I have not had food for 3 days. That was tough. And I was fortunate during that moment. I had $1, we call it 5 goods in those days, mm-hmm. in my pocket to pay for transportation, taxi to go to my next appointment. I reach into my pocket, I say, please take that to your mom. In those days, the 5 goods or $1 US dollar will buy a lot of corn flour, not only for him, but also for the other siblings. But I remember that day, I had to walk, but it was a very gratifying walk. I look at the sky, I was happy, knowing that I have given my extra to someone else. Mm-hmm. It was at that moment that I made the decision that I will find ways to help those in need.
You know, with that story, it reminds me of some conversations I had with some of those that we've taken to the Dominican Republic, to the DR. And when you go on these trips, you stay typically at an all-inclusive resort. And Illens is very accommodating and makes the experience very, 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 very fun, and a lot of relaxation as well involved. But the opportunities to serve, you leave the inclusive resort and you go to work with the center, the community center, and you see these individuals. And what was hard for a lot of the people, it's very challenging for them, is they leave individuals who are struggling perhaps in the sense that they maybe don't have all the food, and they maybe not be eating, say, 2 or 3 meals a day, maybe only 1 or less.
If they're lucky.
If they're lucky. And yet you return back to an all-inclusive resort where you get to have as much food as you would like, whenever you would like. And for some of the people, those initial days are very, very challenging, because it's heart-wrenching to realize how blessed you are and how some struggle so much. And then you get in the vehicle and go the next day back to the community center to do whatever project is there and spend time with these individuals, both children and adult. And Yeah, that tears on a lot of people's heartstrings, and it's a challenge. However, they never forget it. It affects them the rest of their lives, and they are better because of what they've done, that sacrifice and that service. And so, very, very much so. Share with everyone one event that I think is very telling. I know that one of the young ladies organized an activity for everyone to go to the beach. And she raised some funds to acquire the bus to take the community center people to the shore and play on the beach. And mind you, you're on an island, and yet you're inland enough that there are some people who have never been to the beach. What was that like?
That was like transformational for us and for them. As you mentioned that, the island, we're surrounded by beautiful ocean.
Yes, beautiful beaches.
Beautiful beaches, but that doesn't mean all of us can get access to it or know that we can. All of the children, they've never been on a beach before. Never. All their lives.
Uh-huh.
And then for them to go, they were excited. They were like swimming and jumping. And it was. But the key part is that if you want to take someone from where they are to another place, you got to create a window of opportunity. You got to take them in some place. So for us, that was like magical, that event in itself.
That's right.
To take them away from, because usually we are limited to what we can see, to expand their vision. That this is right around me. It's not only physically, but mentally, emotionally, we are taking them away from that commonplace. Another thing also we're going to do in the future also, as you talk about the resort, we're going to take those who are 15, 16, 17, getting ready to look for a job. We're going to train them. But at the same time, we're going to take them and give them an experience. I think it was you and your group that shared this beautiful project with us. We're going to take them there to open the eyes to the possibilities around them.
Illens is no different than what your father did for you.
Yes.
It's your father saying, son, I need you to go somewhere that is unfamiliar. I need you to just experience something new, because from that you may find your new purpose. You may get clarity as to really what you ought to be doing. Right here in the village, and you're in our home, here on the farm, your potential isn't limited, but your opportunities may be. What we're trying to do is show you something more. And when these children get exposed to maybe the jobs that exist at the resort, they didn't know such jobs existed. They didn't know that such professions were available to them to pursue. And all of a sudden now they're given exposure to basically a career, a path that they didn't even know existed. 10 years in the future, they may be the chef at a resort. They may be the security person at the resort. They may be the person over hospitality, cleaning the rooms at the resort. Why? Because they got exposed to that profession and chose to pursue it. It's amazing, but they wouldn't be aware of that if they just stayed isolated in that community center and never be given the opportunity to go outside of that norm.
Yes, I love this conversation we're having. You're so wise and so experienced. That is a leadership responsibility. That's a leadership responsibility. To let you know that when I go back to that same village, all the people who stay there never left their comfort zone.
Yeah.
They stay there. There's no progression, right?
That's right.
When we are in our comfort zone and we want to stay, you know what we're saying? We're going to just stay comfortable.
Status quo.
Status quo. There was no progression. So for us also, wherever we are in life, in business, we got to leap into the unknown as well, in the uncomfortable zone. For a while, we're going to make it comfortable, but we don't want to stay stagnant in that zone.
You know, in business, you are so right. Every year, I look at in our company, what could be different this year than last year? What new product can we be offering that we didn't offer last year? What new process could we implement to improve or do things differently? It's basically taking what we have and making it better for ourselves internally, as well as outside for our customers externally. So what we need to do is, as leaders, is find, how does the business change? How do we make it better than it once was? And part of that is making it so that what we're doing is more profitable. What can we do to cut costs, improve the margins, and so forth? But if you don't push yourself, you're going to remain static, and the business doesn't change. And it's like the person who, and I think we all know these individuals, is that they don't live or leave the communities that they're in. I live in a small rural area that's been developed recently, and there were people that I've spoken to that are maybe in their 60s or 70s, and when you talk to them, they will admit, I've never left this town. Everything I have is here, and I've never gone anywhere else. I don't travel. And that's amazing, because there's a huge world out there to see, so much to experience and learn from. So I love what you're saying.
Thank you.
Yeah. So let's have some fun discussions here. We're going to talk about a few things. One, share with me a favorite movie.
There are several. One of them is the one I think is called The Blind Side. I've seen it a couple of times. Yeah, a couple of times. What I love about that is the fact that as a leader, we need to understand the strength and weaknesses of the people around us, and learning how to leverage. I put it this way when I used to coach soccer: play the ball to their strength and guard their weaknesses. In that movie, if I recall very well, that big guy in black adopted thing like this.
That's right.
The coach didn't know how to use him, because the fact that he is big and strong, the coach thought that was his strength. His strength was more right here. He cared more about people than he cared about himself. But the mother knew that. The mother knew that.
And do you remember what she does? She walks out on the field, grabs him by the face mask, walks him out to the quarterback, and says, "No one touches this man. Your job is to protect him." She made it simple, made it clear.
That is beautiful. Give him a very specific assignment and the why. She didn't have to teach him how to tackle, right?
No.
That's the how. But that was great leadership, great coaching moment there. He took him, explained it, very clear assignment, very specific. This is your goal. You have to protect him. And, he cares so much. Then now the physical strength, just like that was
Because that was what was natural to him.
Yeah.
That was who he was.
Yeah.
He just needed some direction and clarity.
Yeah. His gift of being strong, not to hurt people, but to protect people.
Yes.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah, is to protect people.
I love that. Very good movie, though. I quite enjoyed that.
Yeah.
What's your favorite holiday?
I love to say Christmas. At the same time also, I do not like the commercial part of it, all the things. But I like the fact that I can sit down and relax and reflect and then focus on the bigger pictures in life. Yeah.
Very good. It is a wonderful holiday.
Yeah.
Spending time with family.
Yes.
And even though there's the commercial side to it, I do appreciate the giving side of it. Finding that special gift that you can give to someone that when they open it, they light up. Yeah. They feel like they got something from someone who knows them. Yeah. That's very big for my son. My son, he wants to get gifts that are his personality, that say you know him, therefore you got for him the gift that he would appreciate. And that means a lot to him. So
yeah, I like to say that Christmas brings the best of us. And then what's the other one in October?
And Halloween?
Halloween bring the other part of us out.
Yes, Halloween. I do say that people say nothing in this life is for free, and I always remind them, Halloween, I can go to somebody's house, knock on the door, and they'll give you whatever they have for free, the candy that is. And so, I would take my children, and we would strategically go to the high-density housing so that you didn't have to walk door to door very far, and you would actually maximize your time so that you could get the most candy. And they would be done and tired, and I'm like, no, the night's not over. We have to get our year's supply of candy right now. So keep going.
So you had a system for everything, right?
I did.
That was very smart.
Yes, it was the strategy.
Strategy and a system.
Oh, yes. And my kids were the munchkins to go do the work.
Yeah.
They're my little minions. Get going.
Get going.
And they were tired and cold at sometimes, and I'd say, no, keep going.
Keep going.
We've got our year's supply to go. So
I remember
that is so funny. All right. Tell me about someone influential in your life, like your father, that really influenced you and how they were a mentor. What did you learn from them?
There are plenty of them, right? But I'm going to go to the fundamentals, to the basic one. So you mentioned one of them, my father. My father was a kind, strong. In the book, I talk about him in a small segment at the beginning, that strong like a lion and gentle like a lamb. That was so true of him. So strong that you don't want to, when he needs to protect his flock, the strength will come.
Yes.
But gentle like a lion, doesn't matter if you're a child, you feel comfortable around him. So I learned that lesson from him of being really, I'm not to the point that he was. It's my goal, right? Mm-hmm. Growing. And the other one is my mother. I've learned so much from that woman, is her ability to continue to grow and to invest.
Wow.
She was a wise woman. No formal education, both parents, but yet they taught themselves. I remember the principle of mentors. My mother taught us that very well. She always said that if dad and mom pass away, look at these families, follow them and do what they do. She always pointed us to, and she always knew people who were doing the things that she wanted to do and had to learn from these people. And she was a great mentor to other people. The other one was a lady in Haiti, and she was my teacher in elementary school, and she was a gifted teacher. She was the one that really propelled me in the area of my weaknesses. That's the first time I learned how to be vulnerable, right? I struggled with math for many years until I get to that lady. So the first thing I learned is that in order to accomplish my goal, right, to be the top students at the end of this elementary school, I needed to overcome that weakness.
Yes.
And she was the person. There were some other teachers that could do it, but I didn't feel that connection. So I went to her, opened up, confessed that I struggled with this subject. But I remember what she said. She said, "No, Illens, that can be, because I've learned about you. You're a fantastic student." And I said, "Yes, I am, but I had to work 80% of my time on that subject to get a decent grade." And she said, "I know how to solve it. I can solve it. If you come to school 1 hour before class and stay 1 hour after, within a few weeks, I will help you overcome this problem."
Wow.
She was that mentor to me. She cared about every student in the classroom, everyone. And that changed my life. She helped me overcome, giving me the right tools, the right training. Mm-hmm. And since that time also, I developed that attitude. If there's something I can do and there's someone else I can help, I'm willing to just say, "Hey, I'm at your service." So there are a lot of people down the road, but I have to go to the fundamentals.
Oh, yes. Well, the thing is I think you're demonstrating so well that a lot of our nature of who we are really is established in those fundamental years of our youth. When our children are as young as they are, they're so what is the word I want? Not just teachable, but they can be influenced so much. And you are obviously impacted by that teacher who cared enough to spend that extra hour at the beginning of the day and at the end of the day with you.
Yeah. And if you're willing to make the sacrifices, you can overcome that problem.
You know, I was just at a wedding just yesterday, last night. I attended the wedding in the morning, went to the luncheon, and then spent time with the family and such in the evening. And it was with a young man who, in our neighborhood, I had the privilege of working with, among other young men. And honestly, one of the things that was pointed out is they didn't have family that attended the wedding. It was me and my family and one other family from the neighborhood that were there to support this young man. And I have a relationship with that young man and some other young men that were in their formative years, that time was taken to help nurture them and mentor them. And now they're young men. There's a group of them that when they got together, you could see the friendship. And it's nice to know that I was able to be a part of that. And as you're sharing your teacher story, I'd like to think the same is there, because, for that young man, because that's the legacy that we're each leaving, is who it is that we're able to impact, inspire, maybe help guide. And what you're sharing there is very special.
And it has a multiplying effect.
Yes.
When we help someone, and that someone goes and helps someone else, there was a multiplying effect throughout the world. There was no end to the impact.
Look what she's done with you, that's now been multiplied by you with so many other people.
Yes. That's
amazing. Absolutely amazing. All right. Share with me a struggle, a failure that you've had, and how you overcame it, and what it is that you learned from it.
That's a beautiful one. Up to that point, and I'm going to share more about that one, I never experienced anything that I might call a failure. I might have like a challenge or nail, or a little bit playing soccer, you get hurt here and there. So it has to do with school, right? So in Haiti, school is really, it's not like a given. You have to work. Not a lot of people can get to school, right? Mm-hmm. And school is the differentiator between from staying poor or moving to the next level.
Yes.
And they make it extremely difficult to move. So a little bit of background so I can illustrate that lesson is that in Haiti, when you're in high school, so the last 2 years, you have to go. So the second to the last year, you have to go and take a national test.
Okay.
Right? We call that, based on the French system, we call it baccalaureate. Right? It's not the same as the baccalaureate in the US. You have to take that test. It's a national one. And mind you also, if you pass, they read your name on radio, and that's how they know. So if you fail, everybody knows.
Okay, all right.
Okay. I worked hard all my life. Was great student, top 5 students in every class, and studied hard for those final exams to pass. My friend, I failed. That was terrible. I failed. Devastating thing like this, and I'll tell you why. Number one, I was the first generation, first in my family getting to that point. I had a brother on the side, but the older siblings never get to that point.
Okay.
So I was like, my parents and friends, and cousins, they were really looking at me, and I fell. That was the first failure I experienced in life. It was hard on me. But there are a few lessons that I learned from that. And I'll share only, not all of them. Number one, that was the time that I learned that failure is part of life.
Okay.
Never before, right? You get your food, you get all these things. You're just moving along. That's, invincible, right? This type of spirit. That was the time I learned. Failure is part of life. Now you fail, Illens, you can fail again. And you will fail again. And the other one was that you can learn from it. Another one is the fact that when the cause is bigger than you, you are not going to let failure stop you. During that time when I was facing with those one, and you look and you know how tough it is, I was thinking about other people. I was thinking about my parents. I was thinking about siblings. I was thinking about friends. I was thinking about cousins. That I say, I can't let that define me. I got to do whatever I need to do. I need to overcome that. And another one was that, Illens, if it takes you more than 1 or 2 or 3 times to try, you're going to do it. That was the motivating factor. Another lesson I learned from that also, during tough times, as a leader in business people, we need to remember that. When you're facing tough time, it's a moment for you to know people who are really on your side and people who are just cheerleading. And I was fortunate to have my mother. My father was there, but my mother was right in the city.
Yes.
The moment that they skipped my name. I think they skipped my name, right? And I remember what she told me, say, son, I watch you work hard. You're gonna make it. I worry more about the impact this will have on her. That's a leadership principle. Her strength give me strength. Her
Yes.
vision give me courage. Another one also, I've learned that there are times when you're in difficult, when you're experiencing those things, it's okay. You have to accept it for what it is. If you need to cry, cry. That's okay. Let it come in. So I went to a place, a reserved place. I cried. And after that, I said, you need to buckle up. You need to buckle up. And you're going to try again. And we had 2 months to prepare, to review, to go try again. Within those 2 months, I learned from the failure, say, what did I do wrong? What caused me to fail? And I discovered what it was. And I said, okay, now, this is what you need to do. This is how you need to focus on. This subject, you don't need to worry about them. So I had a plan. But I had to take time to evaluate the failure. What caused me to fail? Another thing also, don't blame people. I could have blamed it on the system, making all these things hard. No. Illens, you fail. Accept it. Find out what caused you to fail. Learn from it. Go back again and try again.
Because every problem has a solution.
Every problem has a solution.
Good. All right. I have a fun question for you. If you could live anywhere in the world, where would it be?
I love that question. Never thought of it before. I love to say where I am living right now. And I'll tell you why. We can always live in the world, anywhere in the world. But it's always good to appreciate where we're living. Sometimes people will ask me that question. I've been here for 35 years, and I say, do you like it? I say, oh, of course I like it. Either that or I love misery. But the point is that, and the reason I learned from that, so when I moved here with my wife, the goal was to go back to Haiti immediately after we finished with our education. That was the goal. But a lot of things happen, unrest, all these things. If you know anything about Haiti, that's part of the process.
That's part of what Haiti is.
Yes. And we were struggling with it. Should we stay here? Should we go? Should we stay here? Should we go? And when you're in this middle right there, he doesn't serve you well. It was the moment that I realized that, Illens, you're here. If you want to go to Haiti, you know the conditions. You can do it. Nobody's stopping you. You have decided to stay here. Be here, plant yourself, find ways to grow, and then opportunity will come to you. Then you can go and serve in Haiti. So I'll have to say where I am right now.
Well, I'll agree with you. I love where we live. It's a beautiful country, beautiful state, beautiful city. With regards to the people, wonderful people, but I like how you say, make that decision, cement yourself there, and then get involved in the community.
Yeah.
Do what you can to give back.
Yeah.
And that's wonderful. But you've not abandoned Haiti, and you've not given up on it.
No.
It
gives me more opportunity to do even more good.
That's right.
Yeah.
Very true. Tell us about your kids. Tell us about them and why you're proud of who they are.
Oh, I love that. I got to start with my wife, a wonderful wife, great companion. She's also a driven and compassionate person. And our children, all of them were born here. And so we also, both of us, have that legacy from our parents, really, to invest in ourselves and also invest in our children. And we did that for all of them. We love the fact that they appreciate that. They appreciate that. They use whatever tools, opportunity that we gave them to go. The other part also is the fact that in their own ways, they love to find opportunity to give back. To give back. So I can go through all of them. That's a favorite subject for me, but I will.
Well, Illens, you're a humble, very kind man, because your wife is a very successful hospital administrator and nurse. Your children are very accomplished in their own careers. You've raised an amazing family. So let me ask this question. What do you hope they've learned from you?
I hope they've learned and what we've learned from our parents. Number one is that we need to continue to grow and invest in ourselves and also create a better path for our children and be comfortable with that. And the other one is really to value life and find ways to help people around us. Very good.
Good. Tell me about a favorite trip you've taken. Where was it and why was it your favorite?
The favorite trips I will have to say were those humanitarian excursions and services that we've made. Anytime I did one of them, that trip changed me. It's when I'm in that situation that with a group of people, we are helping people who are experiencing what their experiences. It allows me to be grateful for what I have and also appreciate the opportunity to help other people and to give back. So I'll have to say that, you can wake me up in the middle of the night, ask that question. My heart would go back to that one.
Well, just to share, we had some great experiences together. I've seen you in some very vulnerable situations. I remember when we once arrived at the community center together, you were overtaken by it. And if I remember correctly, you had to step aside and there were some tears that were shed because it was more than we expected.
Yeah.
And then on the same card, the same experience, I remember going with you out on the catamaran and going swimming, and I remember going up and seeing the parasailing. I mean, there's been a lot of fun activities, and I'm grateful for those experiences with you, so thank you. And you are a fun man.
Oh, thank you. You too.
You were good.
We like to be around each other.
Yes, we do. No, we do well together, so This is good. Share with me what 3 books you would recommend. Starting with 5. I'm just.
No, actually, I need to mention that really it's a great book. It's really a great book. When I wrote that book, I had in mind is that how can I bring a lot of experiences I had in life and then put it together to help business owners, entrepreneurs understand really the fundamentals of that. I'll have to say that one. The other one, it's a favorite book all my life when I was a teenager. It's by Carnegie.
Okay.
Okay. It's really how to influence, how to make friends and influence people. I read that book in French when I was in Haiti, and that really helped cement some fundamentals in relationship, in working with people. And I continue to have that book. I have multiple copies of that book. In those days, I even believe that should be like a required book for business, for management. Again, businesses are people, right? I will need to mention that there are a lot of many great books, and one of them is by my mentor, John Maxwell, The 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership. Powerful book. I've read it before. I'm reading it right now. So I will mention that. Another one also is by the group of Vidal Smart and Joseph Graney is one of the 5 authors there. Crucial Conversation. The list can go on,
Yes, yes.
on and on, because I love to read.
Well, in addition to your book, the 5 secrets of failing in business, the book How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie that you mentioned, that was a very pivotal book for me. I learned a lot from that. One of the takeaways from the book is the most valuable word for an individual to hear is their own name.
That's beautiful.
People have pride in their name, who they are, and to hear their name is rewarding. So going beyond pronouns, you, they, them, it's getting into just saying their name, Illens.
Yes. It shows respect. It shows you value the person.
Yeah.
Another thing also I've learned and built on this statement right there, wisdom from Dale Carnegie, is the fact that there are not 2 people with the same name. Their name may be John, but they are not 2 the same.
Yes.
So when you are naming that person, even the name is John, you have to make association with that person that you're thinking. That person that is in front of you is not another John.
Yes.
Yes, because that is so valuable for that person.
Everyone's unique and an individual.
Yes.
Yes, very, very true. All right. Do you listen to podcasts at all?
I do.
Do you have a favorite?
Again, my favorite right there, one is yours. I'm going to listen to it more often.
Building
right
the
there.
Premier Accounting Firm.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
A shameless plug. I'm happy to do it.
No, that's great. Because a point, and one of the fears we talk about is money, right? A lot of business people know how to make money, but they don't know how to manage it well. That's the beauty of that. I would encourage a lot of people, and I put this in the book, is that finance, accounting, is the language of business.
Yes.
So if you are going to be in business, you got to know the language.
Amen. I can't say it any better.
If you're going to be a visitor, you can use interpreter.
Interpreters. That is funny. Bring in the translator.
Bring in the translator.
Now you know Haitian, Creole, Spanish, English. Do you know French?
French, yeah.
So that's 5 languages.
Yes.
Any others?
No, if I get in a difficult situation, I can use Portuguese, but I don't speak it well.
Yes. So I can understand Portuguese at times, but English, Spanish, those are my 2. So when I go with you to the DR, I just love speaking in Spanish.
Yes.
It's just nice to go right back there and communicate in Spanish, and you can pick up with the Creole and go that way. I can't do anything there.
And the people love that too. Love the fact that you can speak their language.
Yes.
And I'm not saying that you have to be able to speak the language to serve, right?
Correct.
You don't have to. But when you can, the connection is even deepened.
Yep. So what's a question I should have asked that I haven't asked yet? What did you expect me to ask that I've not asked you?
It's been a fantastic, uplifting, enriching conversation.
Thank you.
As a host, you make your guests feel comfortable. I want to point this out. Thank you for this opportunity.
Well, we're not done yet, so don't think we're finished.
Not really.
Okay. That means I'm doing my job. I'm
You're
asking
doing
the right
well.
questions.
Yeah.
The hard questions.
Yeah.
All right, so here's where I give you some choice as to what we're going to discuss. I'm going to give you 4 topics, and you get to pick the topic, and we're going to discuss it a little bit, okay? So I'm going to ask or offer the 4, you pick one. First is faith. Second, music. Third, family. Fourth, workaholic or balanced life.
I love all 4 of them,
Okay.
but I'll go with the 4th one.
Okay, workaholic or balanced life. What does that mean to you?
I like balanced life and alignment, right? Because we are here to live. Work is part of it, right? So therefore, when we learn how to focus on people, value people, we have to have that balance, or even the keyword alignment, right? So right now, I want you to know I'm 100% with you. I am right here,
You're right here.
focusing on this one. nothing else, right? But that's the discipline. But when I am with my family, or I am a grandpa, that's where I am.
You're present.
I am present. We are playing. I'm having fun, or I'm serving them, or whatever I'm doing. I am there. I'm not thinking about this. I'm not thinking about training. I'm not thinking about work. I don't want to think about work. But when I'm at work, I want to stay focused. And it brings the other three that you mentioned. Okay. Why do we work? We work because we value life and we value our families. So if we work so much we don't have time for them, then what's the purpose of it?
Are you working to live or are you living to work?
And
I want to work to live.
Yeah. Sometimes we forget the purpose of this life. I remember, and a good friend of mine shared that, and I asked him for his permission, and I may put that in the book. Successful men, great men, and then traveling all the world and in business thing like this. And he had a son who struggled. And then at one point, his wife, he was in New York in business things. His wife called him, said, "Dear, I need you home." He didn't really ask too many questions. Get a ticket, he could do that, and flew home and said, "Your son needs you." And then having conversation with the son said, "You know what? You make a lot of money, but you've never been there for me." And he asked the son that question, "What do you want me to do?" So the son said, I need your time. I need you." And he made it tough. He's the one who shared that with me. He made a tough decision. Alter his focus on work and spend the time with that son. So it's crucial. We are here with a purpose of life. Family is that. Work is part of it, but it is not all.
Thank you.
The same thing also is good for employees. We have to have that balance. There are times that we may be sensitive to what's going on in the lives of that employees and learning how we can adjust, how we can support them. What I've learned, once we do that, they're going to give us more than what expected of them.
I'm glad you brought up the employee side of it. I've worked in previous jobs where there was a badge of honor given to individuals when they could declare how much time they were forfeiting in personal time off, that they were losing because it wasn't going to roll over to the next year because they worked the entire year and never took off time for a holiday or a vacation. And it was almost like, I'm losing more time than you're losing, therefore I'm working more than you're working. And I just thought how sad it is to work in an environment where everyone is so focused on work and good at what they do and being successful, but so focused on what they're doing that other things such as family and such are suffering. And it was encouraged in the culture that be the case. So in our company, we celebrate the vacations, the trips. We ask about them. What are you doing next? What did you do? Where did you go? How was it? And like we discussed with the Dominican Republic, we've taken them.
You invest in that.
And it builds some camaraderie. It builds some loyalty, because now it's not just a coworker, it's a friend that they're working with. And if they mess up, if they don't do their job, the individuals that they're impacting are friends. And so they want to do their jobs better and right, because they know if they don't, it does impact the other people that they're friends with. So I'm very much a fan of what you're describing, very much so, yes.
You're a great example of that in many, many ways.
Thank you. I appreciate that. All right, so next thing, I'm going to basically bring up some questions here, and we're going to do kind of a rapid fire kind of conversation. As we go through this, I'm going to give you two choices, and you're going to pick one or the other. And as I do the rapid fire, I just want you to kind of go down the list and pick which one's better to you, okay? First one, Star Wars or Star Trek?
Star Wars. I'm not big on both of them, but I'll go with that one.
Star Wars, okay. Disneyland or Disney World?
I'll say Disney World, because it takes me to a bigger place and then give me more options.
Okay. Money or fame?
Um, I'll do money. I can do more good with that.
Good. Read a book or watch a movie?
Read a book.
Drive or fly?
Fly.
Introvert or extrovert?
Introvert. That's a secret people don't know about me. I'm a quiet person.
Yeah, okay. All right. Breakfast or dinner?
Dinner.
Dinner. Okay. Illens, you're an amazing person. I just love having you here. I think there were some amazing gems in what we've discussed. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to try and summarize what we've got, and then in the summary, I'm going to come back to you and ask for a closing thought. Does that make sense?
Loved it.
Perfect.
Thank you.
So first of all, let me just mention that in the episode description, you have an opportunity to go and find there the information you can actually use to get a copy of this book at cost. And with that, Illens will pay for the shipping and handling to send this to you, a signed copy of his book. Now, if this is something that you feel that you would like to take advantage of and avoid the 5 secrets that cause a business to fail, then definitely check out this book and get your own copy of it, a signed edition by Illens that he'll personally send to you from the episode description there for you to take advantage of. And likewise, I'll actually put some other offers there provided where you can get a copy of the book in the black, 9 Principles to Make Your Business Profitable. It's a how-to guide to work on both the short-term, mid-term, and long-term needs of your business to apply the principles in your company to ensure that profit is a priority and deliberate. So 2 great books that you can definitely get a copy of and add to your library, and most importantly, read and apply in your business. So I encourage you to do that. As for a summary of our conversation, the first thing that I want to point out is so often it came back to people. Business is about people. It's helping people, it's improving people, it's making people better. And at the same time, being that it's a people business, they're a resource that we need to leverage and inspire and help. And through that, we as great leaders are going to allow them to bring more to the company, excel in their careers, and more importantly, be happy. And so one of the things that I really thought Illens did a great job in pointing out is how important that asset of individuals is in our business and our lives. He was great at pointing out how important I think parents are. He spoke of his mother and his father and how they were very instrumental in helping him achieve his success, becoming the man that he is, and at the same time giving back. I don't know that he gave him as much credit to it as I'd like, which is having that impact and really doing what we can within our communities to take the blessings we've received and help those that are perhaps wanting. And if we can basically make a difference in those people's lives, there's no telling what that will turn into down the road. Now, from a business point of view, working on our business, we just need to recognize that we don't always have the answers. And he was great at pointing out that every problem has a solution. We need to be open and vulnerable enough to go to our peers, go to our master groups, and in those mastermind groups, maybe share situations we're experiencing and get input and suggestions. These people have perhaps the experience that we're lacking to find the solutions that are available to us if we just open up and start working with other people. And as peers, business owners, we can find solutions to the problems we're experiencing and therefore work on the business as we should. So lots of great insights. I loved what was shared today. I think the world of Illens, having known him for years, I'm grateful to finally have him on the show today. And I hope that you likewise have gotten some insights that you can apply in your business. So with that, let me just come back to you, Illens. Do you have a final word of thought?
Yes, first of all, thank you so much, Roger, for having me. Mm-hmm. It was a delight. I enjoyed, I learned from the conversation. Again, thank you for that. So the final thought I will mention, but I'm going to do it in this segment there. One is that it's about another book that I'm writing, Living in Complete Harmony. But the first part is that purpose. We need to understand this life has a purpose. And each one of us has a purpose in this life. Our businesses have purposes, have vision and clear. So the key word right now is purpose. The other one is the one that I shared before. Remember, there are 2 universal and primary resources in life for growth, wherever we are. Natural resources, they are all around us. Learn how to use them and leverage them. The other one, the critical part of it, is you and me, people. these two resources, we can do miracles with them if we know how to leverage them. The other one is something that I've been thinking about it, and I was so fortunate when it came to me very clearly. I call it there are three currencies for exchange.
Okay.
Time is one. We exchange our time, right? We have employees, they give us our time. The beauty of that is the fact that that is giving to all of us equally. We all have the same amount of time. The other one is talent. But the beauty of that, you have your talents, I have mine, you have yours, and the key is to profit or benefit all. So we need to remember that. The third one is something that we don't often think about, is energy.
Okay.
Energy is the difference maker between time and talent.
Interesting.
Your personal energy will make the difference how you use your time and how you use your talent. And whatever goal or success you're looking for, that will happen. So we always check our energy. Is it positive? Is it uplifting? Is it vibrant? That makes a difference. When you look at great successful people, they know how to use their time, they know how to magnify their talent, but their energy makes that difference.
I love that. Time, talent, and energy.
Yes.
That energy is that differentiator.
Yes.
When you step in the room, do people notice? And do you
Yes.
make a difference? I love it. That is beautiful. Well, obviously, thank you everyone for listening in and participating in this podcast. I encourage you to subscribe to the podcast and get the most out of our weekly episodes where you can actually get reminders and notifications of the podcast as it's released. So definitely subscribe to Building the Premier Accounting Firm and listen to it on your preferred choice of service. And then as for this and other principles that we're teaching, if you would like to apply them in your business and learn more how you can actually implement them to take your business to that next level, feel free to reach out to us here at Universal Accounting Center. You can go to universalaccountingschool.com or give us a phone call at 801-265-3777. And always remember this, if it's about accounting, it is universal. Take care, have a great day, and be safe out there.